back? Are we back? Are we back? Chat, I think we're back. Okay, huge. I restarted my PC and it worked. Oh, that's loud. My bad. I tried restarting the router. That didn't work. Unplugged, replugged the cable on both ends. That didn't work. Restarting PC worked. I don't know what happened, but hey, it is what it is. It's fixed. So who cares? Turning it on and off actually worked. I mean, it usually does, you know? Yeah, maybe it's because I did something to Kazuha mains or something. Right, they're probably angry at me. Okay. So, chat, let's get started on our support tier list. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's let's start by putting all the characters we're actually gonna rank in here. All right, because I feel like, well, obviously characters that are like strictly carries that are never used as supports aren't gonna be included. But also, like, do we include Amber? People don't play her as a carry or as a support, right? She just doesn't do anything. I guess he'll actually include 4-stars this time. Yeah, because there's actually 4-star characters that people play as supports, unlike carries. I think I won't. We'll include Jane. We'll include Lisa. We'll include Barbara. Obviously, Sucrose, Fischl, Mona, Kaya, not Diluc, not Razor, Bennett, not Ning. I don't think the, like, Navia stuff is enough to include Ning. Beidou, Changling, Chongyun, Xingqiu, TT, Venti. No one actually uses Klee support. So people say they do sometimes. Oh, ooh, Klee E for off-field application, but no, you don't. Like, you're lying. Diona, Zhongli, Shenyan, Albedo. Do we include Ganyu? Is there anyone that actually uses support Ganyu? I don't know. More melts from Aoika. I'm not asking if if it's possible to use support Ganyu. I'm asking if there's anyone that actually uses her that way. Because I feel like she's never that good at it, and if you like Ganyu enough to play her on your team, even if she's not that good, you probably just play her as a carry. No? Yeah. I don't think I'll include her. Am I really about to include Hu Tao but not Ganyu in this list? Because you can use Hu Tao for app for Molani, and she's like sometimes a decent option at it. His stream is going down once more if you put Hu Tao in there. Yeah, that's true. Nah, if Hu Tao is there, so is Ganyu. I don't think so, because, like, I can see a situation where you will actually want to put Hu Tao over other things on your team in a Molani team. Just use PMC. PMC doesn't give buffs as big as Hu Tao and has more, like, clunk to the kit because of the requirement to either proc sack or have the burst. Kind of want both. And then rotations are a little offset and it's really weird. Like, there's a reason that, like, the whale dire clears of Sijin Onslaught with Molani sometimes use Hu Tao. But yeah, I guess you can do Ganyu Escoffier for, like, fast off-field cryo if you're against something like Automaton. That's true. Okay, maybe we don't include Hu Tao. Sure. Let's not include her. Rosaria, yes. Yunfei, I think I will include. Ayaka, I actually think is worth including here. Like, unironically, I think Ayaka, unlike Ganyu, is actually worth including in a support tier list. Because Maoika gave us a character that doesn't lose as much from your off-field application being shorter. And Ayaka's really, really fast hits allows you to deal with certain boss mechanics that are actually, like, impactful. Sayu, sure. Raiden as a support, I guess, for, like, Linny teams. That's probably the only teams where I'd consider her a support. Alright, like, for Linny or Lucino, when you want an off-field Electro that just has good uptime, low field time, no cooldown problems. Hyperloom. Hyperloom Raiden is not a support. That's a carry. And, like, I'm not being, like, facetious. I'm not making a bit right now. Like, I would consider Raiden and Hyperloom teams the carry in the team. In Neuvillette Hyperbloom, maybe not, but I think Neuvillette Hyperblooms are an example of a team that doesn't really have a carry. It's just multiple things working together. Anyways. Sarah. Kokomi. Not Aloy, no. Toma. Goro. Shenhe. Yunjin. Yai. Do we include Ayato? I don't think anyone actually uses burst support Ayato just with the burst. Because, like, the app isn't bad, but 20-second cooldown, 80 energy cost, and long-ass burst animation with shit particle generation is just not what you want, right? But people do use him in Bloom. And in the Hyper Bloom. And I don't know if I'd call him the carry if you're playing him in Hyper Bloom. And I don't know if it would qualify like a Farina team as a... or like the Neuvillette team as a team where there is no dedicated carry. I think if you're putting Ayato instead of Neuvillette, your Hydro slot is not there for damage anymore. It's just for the application. And at that point, you only have one damage-only character, which means your carry is now Raiden instead of not having a dedicated carry. While off-field, Ayato regens energy. He only regens energy when his energy is low. But the thing is, unless you want to swap to him twice in your rotation, the way that his particle generation works is you do E, normal attack, burst, normal attack. Because his normal attack has particle generation ICD. So if you do E, N1, burst, N1, you get to generate 2 particles. But the thing is, you're catching all of those particles plus the Fav proc when you're at 0 energy. So you'll get to half energy really quickly, and you'll basically get like 4 energy from his passive that generates energy when he's below 40. If it was the other way around and he generated energy when he was above 40 energy, it would be so much better. Because he spends a lot more time above 40 than below. But it is what it is. I think for Nilo teams and for Hyperbloom teams, I would consider him a support, yeah. But, like, that's a bit up in the air. Yelan, yeah. Kuki. Yeah. Not in Hyperbloom teams, but in the other ones. Hazo, I guess. People don't actually tend to use him as a support, but people don't tend to use Hazo at all. And the 3 people that use out of the 3 people that use Hazo, probably one of them uses him as a support and 2 of them as a carry. Right? Basically, there's probably less people that use Hazo support than people that use Hu Tao support. But unlike Hu Tao, he isn't really used as a carry either. Faru has used them as a support. I don't think so. I think Faru uses them as a quick swap, not as a support. Oh no! On the other side, you're right. Because Faru uses... No, I don't think so. Is there a time where one of Faru's clears was with Hazel, like, actual support? Just, like, swap in, prog VV, swap out? Because the Animo carry teams usually use Lynette for Faru, not Hazo. There was probably an Abyss that wanted Sucrose on one side and Sucrose on the other, and he ended up using... And they ended up using Hazo instead of Sucrose on one of the sides. In the 4.3 Abyss Clear Mono Animal Pharazon carry, it's Proto Amber Hazo. Huh. Interesting. That's kind of surprising to me. Interesting. Anyways, Tichnari. I mean, we could put him in here just because even in his carry teams, his best set is instructor, so he's kind of a support. But that's kind of the Amber problem, not it's not that he's actually a support, it's just the Amber problem of he's too bad to for it to be like yeah. I mean, we haven't started ranking them yet, by the way. We're just separating the characters that we will consider supports for the purposes of this, and the characters that we won't. After that, we'll tier list. Anyways, Cole, yeah. Dory, yeah. Sino, no. Candace, yeah. Nilo, no. I had Nilo in the carry list. Like, I get that she's not actually the carry, but like she has for team building purposes, you build a Nilo team with Nilo at its center the same way you build a carries team with the carry at their center. So I think for team building purposes, Nilo is a carry. We could talk about Nilo in Nefer teams, but I feel like if I include her, people are gonna think that her placement is based off of the Bloom teams. So I kind of don't want to. And it's not like she's used as a support for anything other than Nefer. So, like, whatever. Nahida, yeah. Lila, yeah. Farazan, yeah. Yao Yao. Daya. Mika. Baiju. Do we include Kave? I think so, yeah. Like, in the Nilo team, Nilo is a character I consider to be the carry. Just because Kave is on field doesn't mean he's the carry. Like, his purpose in a Nilo team is similar to, like, Sugras's purpose in a Taser team. And I'd consider Sugras a support in that team. So I think I'll put him in this, yeah. Kirara, yeah. Lynette, yeah. Risley. No, I'm not gonna do Risley. Farina, yeah. Charlotte, yeah. Showers, yeah. Xianyun, yeah. Chiori, yeah. No, no. Seguini, yeah. No. Emily. I will do Molani. Kachina. We're not doing Kanich support, no. Shilonen. Oron. Sitlali. Lanyan. Ionson. Escoffier. Yumiglorb Glorb. Mawika. Ifa. We can do Skirk. Right? Like, burst support Skirk, I think, does still count as a support. Isn't it Quick Swap? Meh. I don't know. Maybe. But again, right, from a team building standpoint, she is fulfilling the role of a support. Dahlia, yeah. Inefa, yeah. Llama, yeah. I know, yeah. Flynn's, no. Nefer, no. Durin, yeah. Yehuda, yeah. Alright. So these are the characters that aren't going to be ranked as supports. There's a few that you could argue are supports. In there. And there's a few that you could argue aren't supports in here. But, like, I don't think those discussions matter too much. Right? Like, at that point, I think that's just a semantics argument that isn't actually important. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. The top category is gonna be how is Noelle not a support? She's a shielder and a healer. She's not a healer unless you on-field her, and you don't on-field her unless she's your carry. I guess if you play Noelle just as a shielder, she is a support, but I don't think anyone does that. We could rank her in the fucking lowest possible tier as a shielder if you want. But I don't feel like that's necessary. But yeah. At the top is going to be characters that are very good in the best meta teams and that are important to those teams. Right? So we have Citlali. We have Bennett. We have Chevreuse. We have Escoffier. If I can fucking find her ass. Jesus Christ, where is she? There she is. And we have Llama. Eon-san. Okay, let's talk about the other characters that could make it in there and make our minds up on whether or not we'll include them. So we'll just put them here for now. This is not where they will end up, but I just want to separate them from the rest. Who else? Sucrose. Official, maybe. Farina, yeah. Pose buff Mona, I guess we could talk about, but I don't think she makes it in there. Because, like, what's the team? What's the really good meta team where pose buff Mona is necessary or, like, really important to the team? That's, like, actually a great meta team. Molani. The problem is that Albedo is also really good with Molani. And also just Durin Sucrose without Mona is also pretty solid. It's not enough of a reliance on Mona, and it's not that good if you don't have Mona cons. Maybe if you evaluate strictly Mona C4, you can make an argument for it. But I don't know if I want to do that. But yeah. So these aren't going to be the tiers where they go, by the way, but we'll just put the characters down if I decide not to put them in the top category and up if I do. I don't think Maoika makes it there. Right? Because, like, Maoika as a support, the only team where she's, like, the only really good meta team where she's really, like, significant is Varessa. Right? But that's assuming you do good cancels on Maoika, which adds a layer of execution. And also, Durin's release is gonna make it so that good cancels Maoika on a Varessa team is like a side grade. And it's kind of similar for Molani, right? The team options with Maoika and the team options with Durin are fairly similar. But then again, I don't know how reasonable it is to disqualify a character because they have competition in the slot. Like, if they just released ST, right? And it was Escoffier, but that had instead of 55% shred, she had 50% shred and like a 10% attack buff. Right? But she did the exact same thing otherwise. Would that mean that both of the characters go down a tier? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe? It's gonna be teams calc so low without Skirk. That's not true. The SKP and Navidad teams are pretty solid. But SKP teams do calc comparatively fairly low without good cryo and hydro units, and Navidad is kind of borderline too in there, right? But that's not really SKP's fault. It's because we have had one cryo carry release in the past like 3 years. Like the last one before Skirk was Risley. You know? Wait until you hear when the last Geo carry was released. You wanna know what the funniest thing? I think if they release a Geo carry now, Shilonen won't even make their best team. Because I think Durin Albedo is too good of a core for Geo carries. And if you have Durin Albedo, a third Geo character, like Shilonen would be the third character, so she wouldn't activate her buffs. Which is tragic. Trust Chiori resurgence? I mean, yeah. I think their best team would probably be Chiori, Albedo, Durin. Yeah. Maybe Bennett if they're an attack scaler with good numbers. Maybe Goro if they really are starved for defense percent, but I feel like that's probably not going to be the case. Them removing Albedo's snapshot really nerfed Goro though, so like I don't know what to say, man. Like Doro, like Goro's whole thing in GOTs is that he could buff everyone even if he had a single target buff because Albedo could snapshot. And now he can't. So Goro's just way worse. Does that affect Albedo? It doesn't actually really affect Albedo. But it does affect Goro. Because it makes the Goro teams worse, but the Goro teams weren't the best teams. They were just somewhat competitive with the other ones. Albedo didn't want Goro anyway. I actually, when I did my calcs, I had the best Geo carries with Durin and like the witch buffs being Shilonen on field with Chiori Albedo Durin and Goro on field with Chiori Albedo Durin. Machine Gun Goro, yeah. Like if you're actually good at Machine Gun Goro, I think he would have been the best Geo DPS. Would have been better than Navia. If they hadn't removed Albedo Snapshot. Anyways, let's get back to this. The bar is that low, man. I mean, when you look at Navia's numbers in 2025, you're like, oh yeah, she's kind of ass, right? You see that her skill is like 1300 motion value, and you see that Kenichi's skill is like 1200, but it happens 5 times instead of 2, and you're like, oh yeah, what the fuck is this Navia character cooking, man? Jesus Christ. Anyways, for Yonsan, I'm really not sure, because she's kind of important for the Veresa teams, but she'll be a lot less important when Fischl gets her buff. And she's a lot more constellation reliant than... Well, no. She's fairly constellation reliant. I'm really not sure, honestly. But she's a very universal support. She's somewhat universal, but she's not actually played with that many meta carries. I think she's a more replaceable part of these strong meta teams. I think I'm comfortable putting her... I guess I'll just put them directly in this tier, right? I think I'm comfortable putting her here. Isn't Yonsan just Bennett with movement? The main difference is that Bennett is a healer. Bennett being a healer is such a big fucking deal. Bennett being pyro also matters. Because power resonance for meta carries tends to be more impactful for characters that want either Bennett or Yonsan than electro resonances. There's also the fact that when you look at, like, KQM standard calcs, then it's always on a 4-star weapon. But there's a lot of people that have Aquila or Skyward Blade. And if you do, Bennett overperforms compared to Sheet performance, but the only way Eonson does is with Fork, right? How many hits you assume from Klee's skill? 3 plus 8. 3 bounces, 8 mines. Against bosses, that should happen most of the time. Anyways. Durin. I'm not sure, honestly. Durin is about to be another Shilonen. I see why you're saying that, but I don't think that's the case. Because he's not just there for the shred, he also has off-field app and damage, right? And there are a lot of teams where that matters. Yeah, I think he makes it here. There's no team where you want Durin if you have Mawika. That's not true. Huh? There's a lot of teams where it's really difficult to get good fighting spirit from Mawika. People don't realize it because they just don't play those teams because they're bad and they feel awful. Yeah, it's also important to realize, like, unless you're doing some really fucking sweaty Mawika combos, in most of the teams where you can use either Durin or Mawika, he's just outright better. Anyways. Next is Inefa. I think Inefa also doesn't quite break into the highest tier. Inefa's biggest, like, obstacle is Flynn's not being as good as Nefer, honestly. It's a mix of Flynn's not being as good as Nefer, Inefa by herself not being as good as Llama by herself. The only thing that makes me a little hesitant is using both at the same time. Because I do think Inefa is the best last slot for Nefer teams right now. But I think she's really replaceable. There. Inefi is more flexible. I don't think I agree with that. I think she has too many good teams to be in S. I mean, so does Malika, so does Durin, so does Yonsan. Right? I don't want to just put all the characters that I consider good at the top, because then, like, what's the point of making a tier list? You know? I think I'm comfortable with her being here. Sucrose. Hmm. When you look at current meta teams, right, Sucrose is used for Nefer teams. She is used for Molani teams, which aren't, like, at the top of the meta right now, but kind of get there next patch. But I think she's somewhat replaceable, so I don't think she makes it into the highest tier. Does she even make it into the S tier? I think so, yeah. I think she does. Yeah. She's replaceable in Flynn's teams. A bit less so in Flynn's teams, but Flynn's teams aren't quite on the same level as the teams that rely on these characters. But at the very least, Yahoda can compete with her in this slot. Situationally, she'll be better. Flynn's will be the Kinich of Nodcry? Maybe. It all depends on Columbina, right? Like, the Lunar Bloom reaction itself doesn't deal damage, so if the way that Columbina is designed is based around buffing her own ability to do support reaction damage, she won't be good for Nefer, but she'll be really good for Flynn's. So, like, it's... Yeah. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. Okay. Let's get Farina out of the way. Farina fulfills the conditions I've described for this. But she's also way less important than Escoffier in the Skirk team. And I don't know how I feel about all of the supports in the Skirk team being there. Like, at some point, one of them is getting fucking propped up by the rest, right? You've been saying this about Farina for almost 2 years now, and look where she is now. Yeah. I am looking at where she is now, and she's still kind of all right. Escovy saved her ass. She really did, yeah. Mm. Farina is the character you'll find a use for everywhere. Do I even use Farina in my combination of my best 3 teams for the current stage and Onslaught? Let's think about that. I'm kind of curious. Maybe? Like, my combination of my best 3 teams is probably Malika here. Probably Arlecchino here. I guess I do, yeah, because I do use Kirk here. Will that still be the case when Durin comes out? Because when Durin comes out, my Veresa team will be a lot better. But does the Veresa team steal too much from the other ones? It might. Right? Like, maybe this. Yeah, I guess so. I guess she would still be there. Proven wrong? I asked a question. I didn't say I would not use her. I said, I wonder if I would use her. Let's think about it. I think you're not quite getting the concept of being wrong about something. I think I'm okay with having Farina as like the gatekeeper of this tier. Order within the tiers. Yeah, I guess I could do that here. Who's the best character in here? I don't know. I feel like depending on the day, sometimes I'll say Chavois, sometimes I'll say Escoffier. Yeah, probably do like this. Yeah, this is just rage bait. True. I disagree with you, so I will call it rage bait so I don't have to justify my disagreement and I can try to piss you off. You're so likable and smart. Okay. Did these characters make it in here? I think both of them can. But I don't know if they do right. I don't know. Hmm. I think Fischl makes it. I think Mona makes it. Yeah. Let's do this. Sure. The thing with Mona is it depends on her constellation. I think C4 Mona is here, C2 Mona is probably here, C0 Mona is probably here. But I think Mona is like so much better than the other standard characters now that if you're making decisions based off of meta, there's no reason to get anything other than her from the standard selector. So I don't think it's unreasonable for people to get to C4. If there was another good standard character, then maybe. But because the other standard characters are so bad, then yeah. Alright, we can talk about Shilonen too. Right? I've mentioned her yesterday. Or 2 days ago. The main thing about Shilonen is like, if you have her, you'll pretty much always use her. But if you don't have her, you will very, very rarely feel like you're missing something for your teams. Right? Like, there isn't really a team. Right now, maybe Molani, but that'll change with the Mona with the witch buffs, right? So post witch buffs, there isn't really a team where that wants Shilonen, where if you don't have her, the team will perform noticeably worse. So I don't know if I want to put her here. Isn't Shilonen good for filling Maoika, Fighting Spirit, and Siege and Onslaught? She is, but there's so many bosses that have stall mechanics that make it so you don't need to get your first burst instantly. And it doesn't tend to be a problem. Hmm. Yeah. I think I feel comfortable putting her in A here. Should I order this tier as well? Probably, right? I think Yonson first. Then Maoika. Then Duran. Yeah. Then Inefa. Probably this. I think. She grows over Mona due to flexibility. I don't know. Mona's pretty flexible after the buff, you know? Durin over Maoika. I think they're really similar. Maybe. Will Mona's ER be a concern? Less so now. The reason why Mona's ER tends to be a problem is because she doesn't catch her own particles. But because she now spends time on field doing normal attacks after her burst, you can make her catch her own particles without it being a DPS loss. Which helps a lot with her ER requirements. Hmm. Anyways. Who else is, like, good as a support? Skirk. Kazuha. Yelan. Singtao, maybe? Albedo. Molani. I guess. Lanyan. Venti. Auron. Kinda. I guess we can also talk about Aino at least. And Yehuda too, so I suppose. Farazan. Emily. We can talk about Shenhe. We can talk about Nahida. Qianyuan, I guess, we can talk about as well. I think that's it. For characters that I like could have a chance to make it into A. I guess Chanling too, actually. True. Yeah. Kuki and Nefer teams? Nah. Like, her kid isn't doing anything. The only reason you use her is because you get Quicken. That's it. Like she is effectively Electro Chi-Chi in that team. Right? That's not making it into the same tier as Shilonen. I'm sorry, but it's not. Okay. Before we talk about this, I'll be right back. Let's start by talking about Kazuha. I don't think Kazuha makes it into this tier. I think Kazuha will be the top of this one. The biggest problem with Kazuha is that his animation times are much longer than other characters that provide similar buffs. VV as a whole is a lot worse than it used to be. Because we're getting more and more alternatives, we're getting more and more characters that force you to use specific elements that are not Animo on your team. We're getting more and more sources of shred. But Sucrose is managing to hold on because EM buffs are very rare. There are not a lot of characters that provide good EM buffs, right? It's like Sucrose, who provides good EM buffs, and VV, and maybe TTDS. It's Nahida, who provides Dendro App, which doesn't tend to be that good anymore. And that's it, other than her EM buffs. Albedo, I guess, now. But it's still not that big of a buff, and the uptime on it is pretty bad. Fischl and Electrocharge team, I suppose. Inefa. But you don't want to have to build a lot of VR on Inefa, so it's not good uptime. And Fischl tends to struggle to find a slot in Electrocharge teams. Unless it's Overvape. And so basically, the lack of real EM buffers makes it so that despite the downfall of VV as a whole, Sucrose is still staying very relevant. I mean, hell, you use Sucrose in Nefer teams. And she is, like, around the same DPS as Nahida or Inefa. Even without the VV. So in teams where the VV matters, then, I mean, that's nice. But that's not because what Sucrose gives is that big. It's just because our EM buffers are just really bad. And she's a 4-star character that doesn't need to use burst. Which means that her animations are really short. All of this to say, right? Sucrose has survived the downfall of VV, but Kazuha hasn't. Because damage percent buffs, like, you walk outside in the morning, right? Go pick up your newspaper. There's a damage percent buff right next to it. You go to a coffee shop, you look at the menu, damage percent, damage percent, damage percent. It's everywhere. And so you tend to be really saturated in damage percent, which dilutes the value of Kazuha's buff. On top of that, Kazuha has longer animations, and his buff is balanced to be around the same, like, amount of stats as Sucrose's EM buff. Right? It's a bit less, right? Because Sucrose gives you, like, somewhere between 1 and 1.5 main stats worth of EM. Kazuha gives you a little bit less than a main stats worth of damage percent. But generally, damage percent tends to, or because of the way that EM scales, that tends to be fairly similar in value. But Sucrose is a catalyst, so she can use TDDS. If grouping starts mattering again, I could see Kazuha coming back up a little bit. But right now, he's just not him anymore. And next Abyss, maybe. True. Alright. The other characters that are, like, very decisive, I guess there's Yelan. Where would I put Yelan, honestly? I see everyone in chat saying B, but I don't know if I agree. I think I'd put her above Kazuha right now. So she'd probably be, like, the bottom of A. Columbina will end her? Probably.
And you still
Probably.
have a special place in my heart.
D. What about Singto? Is Singto better than Yelan right now? Yeah. Yeah, he is. You've always said that he is? No. At the end of that one, I thought Yelan was better than Singto. But then, you know, Nalcry happened, and Singto is a very viable support in pretty much every Natlan character's teams. Better than Yelan in most of them. You mean Nalcry? Did I not say Nalcry? But yes, I meant Nalcry. You said Natlan? My bad. I think the biggest problem that both Yelan and Singso have is that there's just so many off-field Hydro characters that are meant to be Hydro applicators. So even if one of them is better overall, there's going to be a lot of teams where they're worse than another because of a specific circumstance, you know? Yeah, there's also the fact that in Siege and Onslaught, it's harder to front load energy generation on Yelan than it is on Singto. Because Singto's like Singto's numbers are balanced a bit more about Hydro application and less about damage. Which means that it doesn't feel as bad to sacrifice offensive stats for ER. But I don't know. I do think with Durin carry, Yelan is better. Probably. Maybe. I'm not actually sure about that. They're probably kind of similar, actually. Yeah, that's true. Singso also has a lot of hits, which makes him kind of goated for boss mechanics that require a lot of hits. Yeah. I think I'll put him above Yelan right now. Thank you, Nodcry, for redeeming my goat. I won't have him above Shilonen, though. Should we talk about Aino? Dude. Aino is so fucking bad, but like... They designed the Nograi carries around not working well with any of the other Hydros. I think Columbina will end her completely. But I think right now she's here. I think she's above Kazuha. I'm gonna sneeze. Remember, you can only have Columbina on one team, so she might still be relevant. Yeah, but unless you have both Flynn's and Nefer, there is not a single person who is struggling because they need I know on two teams. Like, be honest with yourself right now. Be so honest with yourself right now. Anyways. Is Farazan better than Kazuha right now? Like, Farazan's kit is a lot more overloaded than Kazuha's kit. She does a lot more. But she's held back by the really, really awful quality of animal carries we have. And with Durin, Farazan becomes a lot less important as well. I still think she'll make it into B, but I don't think she's above Kazuha right now. Does she even make it into B right now? Like with next batch's buffs? Yeah, I think so. How would you rate Farazan if you had Varessa level Animo carry? Do you guys want to take a look at what would happen if we had Electro Farazan in a Varessa team? Because I'm down to look at that. I think I have my Varessa calcs here. Yeah. This was the pessimistic assumptions, right? Oh no, that's the official one. Okay. Okay. So I guess you ditch Yeon-san. Right? But Yeon-san does so much for Varessa. Maybe you did show hers instead. I'm not sure. So we lose Yeon-san, so that's 30% attack. That's Yeon-san attack buff. That's Cinder City and Yeon-san C6. Okay. We gain 38.3 damage percent. Farazan real. We gain 40 crit value. And we gain 30 shred. So right now we're at 50. No, we're at 60 shred. We'll be at 90. This will be 1.4. Yeah. And then personal damage on Farazan would actually be around 10 point something K. Right, because we have a lot of AoE attack buffs, and Farazan's damage isn't that awful. Right, it's pretty bad in animal carry teams because we don't have AoE attack buffs, but we have Power Resonance here. We have enough energy generation with Electro Resonance. Oh yeah, I guess you'd also have the TOM, right? On her. I'm not gonna calc her damage, but like, point is, she'd be about as good, if not slightly better than Yeon-san if she was Electro for Varessa. And that would end up with a Varessa team that doesn't even have an attack buffer, right? In terms of the amount she provides, she's good. But she's held back by the quality of animal carries a lot. What if she was Pyro? She wouldn't buff electro damage if she was Pyro, right? But if she did, she'd be better than Durin, obviously. Yeah, I guess she wouldn't shred Pyro, but whatever. Okay, who's next? TTDS, Cinder City, Molani. That's pretty much a Skirk only thing, right? Let's say you're a Skirk player and I don't know, Arlecchino player or something, and you're wondering if you should get Kazuha for your Arlecchino in AoE content or you should get Molani, right? For your Skirk as a support. Like, yeah, you'd get neither, but like, if you really wanted to get one of them, I think I'd say you should get Molani. But I don't know. Won't Mona be better next patch? Mona doesn't work in Skirk teams. In order for Mona to have the buffs, you need to have the Witch Resonance, and without the Witch Resonance, she's just current Mona. She's fine for Skirk teams, but she's not amazing. Yeah. I guess the main reason why I'd want to get Molani over Kazuha in that situation isn't because Molani's better as a support, it's because Molani's a carry, and you can use her as a carry. So I shouldn't have her above Kazuha in a support tier list. I think she'll be like... I think she'll be here. I don't know. It's like characters that does an insane amount for bad carries or that does almost nothing for a good carry. Which one of those is more valuable? I feel like that's subjective. I don't think it matters that much which one we put above the other. Like, we understand that their upsides and downsides are too different for it to be easy to compare them one to one. So we don't need to argue about which one should be higher, right? Like, whatever. Isn't Aoife the same as Molani if only TTDS plus scroll? No. Aoife animation time trying to use his skill. Aware. Yeah, also, Molani has really good particle gen as a support. Right? Because she generates her particles when she uses her first chomp, even if it's not fully stacked. Usually, that's once per rotation, but her skill cooldown starts when you finish the skill. That means if you only do one jump and then swap out, you'll be able to get the particle generation again 6 seconds later. So Molani can generate a lot of particles. If you are in a situation that requires you to front load particle generation, like the start of Sigil Onslaught. I think that's something that tends to be overlooked. It actually does a lot. Anyways. Skirk support. Like, realistically, you only play Skirk support with Hydro carries, right? And the only Hydro carry that has numbers that are good enough for it not to feel fucking awful not to enter the normal attack mode on Skirk is Navidad. So it's basically only one team. And she's not that impactful on that team, but she is good. It works with Arlecchino. Yeah, I guess that's true. But the Arlecchino thing is a lot more sus. Because you need to do 2 swaps to her. Alright, so you need to swap to her to hold E during Arlecchino's uptime. Which is really hard to keep track of properly. There's an Arlecchino thing with Skirk. Yeah, if you want to play double cryo, your second cryo options after Seat Lally are so fucking awful that even, like, 1-stack Skirk is competitive. If you get her burst. But you need to get her burst, so you need to hold E twice per rotation. Maybe we just shouldn't include Skirk in here. Whatever. I don't really care that much. Then that's just worse Rosario or Diona? It's not. That's the thing. It's better Rosario or Diona if you're getting your burst every rotation. It's harder to play, but it's better. Because as it turns out, Skirk does a lot of damage. I know, crazy. Does that mean Molani also shouldn't be here? No, because in these teams, she's not doing a lot of damage, right? Like, the reason I decided not to include Skirk after all... Wait, actually. Is because she actually does enough damage to out-damage your carry, right? That's not the case for anyone else here. I mean, Maoika, I guess, if your carry sucks, but, like, yeah. Nilo doesn't get in. I consider Nilo to be the carry in her teams. And you could look at Nilo in Nefer teams, but I feel like if I rank Nilo based off of her performance in Nefer teams, people are going to think that's where I rank Nilo's Bloom teams. So I'm just not going to include her. But if I were to include her, she'd probably be somewhere around here. Maybe below, actually. Nah, somewhere around here would be fine. Okay. Albedo. I think pose buff Albedo goes here. The biggest thing that Albedo has going for him is that he's a character that won't necessarily interfere with your reaction, like, identity in your team. And that gives you witch resonance if you need it. Right? So if you're playing a team where you want to activate witch resonance somehow, but you don't want to play a character that's going to fuck with your reactions, or that requires elaborate setups like Sucrose, Albedo will always work. At his best, I think he's fairly strong. He's too reliant on witch teammates. I mean, that's like saying Escoffier can't be good because she's too reliant on having Cryo and Hydro on the team. She's bad if you don't have that. Like, I mean, sure. I mean, that's not even necessarily true because Escoffier and Melt is still fine, but like, you get the point, right? Like, it's how much of an obstacle is it to need witch resonance when Durin, Fischl, Sucrose, Mona exist? Yeah. What's Albedo's best build after the buff? 4-piece Husk. You want to get to around 3k defense. Usually you get to that either with 4-piece Husk on Geo Goblet or 4-piece Golden Troop on Defense Goblet. It doesn't really matter which one of the two you do because they're very, very similar. But that means you don't need to farm Husk. Because if you have a good Golden Troop, you can just use that. You don't have to bother farming Husk, which is really nice. Because Husk will suck to farm. Right, you don't want to go in that domain. And you don't want to farm an artifact set that's only good for one character. Especially because there's a possibility that the set won't even be that good on him in the future. If he gets a better set. Is there a reason 3k is the breakpoint? His damage percent buff scales off of his defense, but the good buff caps at 3k defense. You can get more. It's not bad to get more. But you don't want to be too far below, right? Like if you're at like 2800, it's fine. But like 2200, you want more defense. So we don't consider versatility at all. We do, but it's a lot less important now. I think versatility tends to be a lot more important for carries than for supports. Having teams that function in many different situations is more important than having supports that function in many different teams. And because the specific supports are so much better at their job than the versatile ones, the gap between using those versatile supports and using the specific ones is like pretty big. Would you really recommend anyone to pull for Albedo if they don't already have him? I mean, I wouldn't recommend anyone pull for Yelan either, right? Shilonen, I think there's more of an argument, but I don't think she's all that important to get. What's your reasoning for Shilonen's position? The biggest problem with Shilonen is that not having her never feels like a problem, right? Right now, there is one carry where not having Shilonen feels awful, and it's Molani. But that's not going to be the case next patch anymore. Next patch changes that. As a newer player, the healing of Shilonen is felt more than the res shred. Yeah. But, like, for Molani teams, you guys are sleeping on Prototype Amber, I swear. Proto Amber healing bonus Mona heals Molani so fucking much, man. It actually heals a lot. Because the healing is based on the target character's HP. So HP scalers get a lot more healing from Proto Amber. Like, I actually wonder, does Proto Amber every rotation out heal Shilonen every other rotation on Molani? I think it might. Because you have the Shilonen burst before you even do your setup at all on Molani. Otherwise, it interferes with your Hydro Swirl. So by the time you swap to Molani, you don't have that much uptime on the Shilonen burst anymore. Whereas the Proto Amber healing is to the whole team, so you don't need to be on field for it to proc. Like, again, right? I showed it earlier, but I'll show it again, okay? Don't look too closely at the rotations, because the enemies in the current Sage and Onslaught are fucking awful for Molani, right? Sigurd just dodging everything. But just look at the HP and how the HP goes when I do this, right? We're gonna pretend like, where's Moika? We're gonna pretend like it's post buff Mona. I'm gonna try to remember what the rotations were. Wait, Sucrose is exalted? Dude, that's my fucking goat right there. Holy shit. Proto Amber. Healing bonus. Doesn't really matter what she's on, right? We're not looking at damage. We're not looking at rotations too much. We're just looking at how the HP goes. And this is an enemy that does kill you sometimes, right? Like, this is not an enemy that does trivial incoming damage. What's the rotation again? It's like Mona E. I guess first rotation is a little sus, right? Okay, wait. Let me fucking move this out of the way so I can see my cooldowns. Okay, so oops. It's like this. Then you do the Molani burst, but I don't have Molani burst. Or, sorry, Marika burst. So I'll do this. Okay, well, because I didn't have the Marika burst, things went really wrong on this one, but it's fine. Dude, I'm fucking up so bad. It's fine. That was not it. That was not it at all. My E missed. Nice.
I stand against the long night and purge the darkness.
Please, targeting, don't go too crazy. Oh. Well, Marika, Pyro App, and AoE is still a potential problem, right? But you can see, right, even against a fairly aggressive enemy, we're not struggling. We got hit so many fucking times there. So it heals once and that's it. It heals 3 times, but you only notice one because a lot of the healing happens off field. Yeah, like I wasn't focusing on dodging, and even against an aggressive enemy throughout a 2-minute fight, didn't even come close to dying. I don't think this is a healerless team. I guess it's kind of similar to the amount of defensive utility you get from a shielder, right? It doesn't tend to prevent as much incoming damage as healers, but for most people, it's enough. Anyways. Who's next? Lanyan? Speaking of shielders. Yeah, Lanyan also has BB downfall problems. Is she better than Kazuha is the question. Like, that's the real question. Is Lanyan better than Kazuha? I think she's very similar. Alright, Lanyan doesn't have the upside that most 4-stars have of shorter field time when it comes to supports. There's TTDS. The biggest problem with that is that TTDS is not gonna fit with 16-second rotations. You'll only get half uptime. And because offensively, that's the only thing she provides, because her C4 is dog shit, and it's not worth using burst just to proc it, then it's kind of like, eh. But the shield does do a lot. I haven't seen a single person play Lanyan since her release. I've played her a few times, but it's true that I don't really feel compelled to play her too often. But that's just, I mean, the same thing can be said about Kazuha. When's the last time I actually put Kazuha on my team? I guess I tried some like Monopyro stuff for a little bit, but it didn't even fucking work, so I ditched it anyways. Other than that, when's the last time I played Kazuha, actually? I played that C6 Kazuha when we did the viewer account thing. That was awful, and I hated every second of it. The biggest problem with Lanyan is that I know sucks. Let me explain. Right now, right? What teams that are like actually good in the meta do you use VV on? You don't use it on Veressa, you don't use it on Nescaffier, you don't use it on Mauika. So you don't use it on Nefer, so it's like Flynn's, I guess. Molani, but she's not good for Molani. So it's pretty much just like Flynn's. I guess Nevillet, but his best teams aren't the ones with VV, so meh. So it's like Flynn's, basically. But because Ino is so dog shit, if you feel like you need defensive utility, you're generally better off replacing your Hydro slot than replacing your Animo slot. If we had a good Hydro, you wouldn't feel too bad about replacing your Animo slot for Lanyan. But we don't. And then Yahoda is getting released next patch, and she's going to be a defensive utility that you can use in that slot. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll put her below Kazuha. Venti. Oh, boy. Here's the thing about Venti, okay? When you look at the highest DPS team that actually uses Kazuha, where it's not grief as fuck, like using Kazuha in a Mauika team just so you can pretend like Kazuha's good, right? Like teams that actually use Kazuha. His best team is probably Neuvillette, right? And the Kazuha versions of Neuvillette team are like... trying real hard. They got to try real hard to get close to 100k. I guess with Inefa you get there. Sure. Yeah. With Venti, you're gonna have teams that like hover around 85 to 90k. And it is lower, but like there is a reason to use Venti over any other option, whereas there isn't a reason to use Kazuha over any other option, right? And it's not like the DPS is far behind enough for me to consider Venti to just be completely outright worse. What do you think about Nivedette, Farina, Shilona, and Durin? Meh. It's okay. Replace Shilonen with Llama. Put the Burgeon in the bag, little bro. The biggest problem that Venti as a support has is that our animal carries suck fucking ass. Right? And so the biggest, the most impactful part of the Venti buffs, his ability to give animal carries 50 damage percent for some fucking reason, won't matter until Varka. Right now, if you were to use Venti instead of Kazuha in a Neuvillette team, how much worse would it be? Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious. If we go to the sim, Neuvillette, is Inefa in there? She's not. Damn. Okay. So they do have a Venti one at 85k. Farina, Shilonen, Kazuha. Alright, this one is at 95k with Zyphos. Kind of fake. It's good enough, I guess. And the Venti one is at 85k. What the hell is this build? Why is he at 70 crit rate, 76 crit damage? I don't think this is optimized, is it? Oh well. Yeah, then his substats are fucking full EM. It's for Fav. He's not even on Fav though. What's the rotation? Neuvillette, Farina, Skill, Shilonen, Venti, Farina, Burst, Neuvillette, Shilonen, Venti, Neuvillette. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, yeah. Post buff Venti will do like about double the damage. That's another 5k-ish DPS to the team. It'll be at around 90k. So about 5k behind Kazuha. But you have Venti grouping. So then the question is... Wait, also... Oh, never mind. Do you even need Venti grouping with Neuvillette? Not necessarily, but... The gap will be similar in other teams. I was just using an example of a meta team, well, meta-ish team that uses Kazuha, right? But, like, they're kind of cheating here, right? Because they're using Zyphos and they're relying on the Zyphos for ER requirements here. And not a lot of people have Zyphos. If you go 5, you lose the damage percent from Zyphos to ZM. Venti grouping is one of the most useless things in practice. I mean, it has been pretty useless because they've gone out of their way to make it useless, and they're about to stop doing that. You know? For one patch. Do you think it's only going to last one patch? Because I'm not convinced. Hmm. I think Postbus Venti is just on a very similar level to Kazuha. But as soon as we get an Animo carry, he'll be way better. So I kind of want to put him above because of that, but I guess we don't right now, so I'll put him below. Put him here, I guess. The last time Venti was on banner, we had a 45 enemy floor in Abyss, and then back to business as usual. Yeah, but the last time Venti was on banner, they didn't fucking buff him. And hint at him being an important part of Varka's teams either, right? Because I feel like he probably will be. Oh well. Isn't Farazan better for Animo carries? Not necessarily. There's a few teams I've calced where Venti performs better than Farazan. 50% damage isn't a lot. It's not nothing either when he's got personal damage. So damage percent is good for Venti, but bad for Kazuha? No. If they gave Kazuha 50 more damage percent, he would also get better. There's a fucking difference between the conversation we need to have about the value of damage percent as a whole on a character who's balanced around that, and how much a character improves from being slapped with a fucking amount of damage percent that's more than Cinder City's 4-piece just for free on a buff. You know? Like, yeah, as it turns out, most characters, if you just gave them a 50% damage buff for fun, would get a lot better. Yeah, this feels like you're just arguing for the sake of arguing. You don't believe what you're saying. You're like, that is a rage bait, actually. Anyways. Auroron. Auron's biggest upside is having fighting spirit from Awika. But Yeonsan's release made him just kind of worthless. Or like in Overload teams, he's a fucking joke. You only play him in Mawika teams, like Mawika Overload teams. And he's only a real consideration when you're against fucking Void Shield enemies, like Papilla. And even then, he sucks against Papilla because you can't fucking proc part of his passive. So you'd rather just use fucking Fischl anyways. Yeah. I don't think he makes it out of the C tier, actually. He doesn't even make it in B, I think. I'll be right back, chat. I'm back. Hello. Did you get a haircut? No, I just started stream with my hair wet. And it made my headphones mold my hair. We'll just separate him from the rest for now, but we'll put him in C when we're done for this. Okay. Yahoda. Hmm. Don't know if these rules make sense, but this is what I'm getting. Clee Duran at 90k. Yeah, it's also lower than what I had. Oh, have you looked at Shimenawa's? You can go Shimenawa's. Your requirements on Shimenawa's on this team is like 25%. It's worth it. Duran damage seems really low. 130k? That's a typo, is it? Oh, that's supposed to be Shavar's and this is supposed to be Duran. I see, that makes sense. Right. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, first of all, what is it with Klee calcs and assuming 2 E's per rotation? On a rotation that's 18 seconds with an ability that has a 20-second cooldown. Be so for real right now. I looked at a sim and is it cancelled? E, they do canceled E for Crimson Witch procs, but you don't use Crimson Witch. So this is what? 1, 2, then 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's 3 and 3s. I think that kind of makes sense. Probably. Can't wait for the dev to test Clee. No, thank you. I'm good. Anyways, let's get back to Yahuda. I think Yahuda's better than Kazuha. I don't think she's better than I know right now, but she obviously will be soon. There's just not a cry bias. Well, what's a meta team that isn't from Nod Cry that actually wants VV? Molani? Yeah, but you're always using Sucrose over Kazuha there. Right? It's not that Molani wants VV, it's that Molani loves EM buffs, and Sucrose is a shredder that gives big EM buffs. You wouldn't use Kazuha. Or like pretty much the only meta teams that actively use Kazuha sometimes nowadays, or that actually use VV nowadays, are Molani. You would use Sucrose. Flynn's. You would not use Kazuha. You might use Yahoda. And Nevilette. But Nevilette's best teams with Kazuha are the ones with Hinefa. And with Hinefa, Yahoda's better. Is Arlecchino Seat Lally Kazuha Bennett not best in slot for Melt Arlecchino? Your uptime is too bad on your VV shred. And if all you care about is front loading your damage, you'd rather use Sucrose, because the EM buff helps you front load damage more. Emily! Where do we put Emily? Listen, Chad. I'm kind of an Emily hater. But if I try to think about it as objectively as I can, she's kind of similar to Kazuha, right? In that she's a fairly replaceable unit for fairly whatever carries. But I think she's more useful to Kenichi teams than Kazuha is. Well, maybe not. Maybe not with the witch buffs. But she's still pretty solid in the Durin Kenichi teams. Honestly. She's fine in Kenichi teams, but it's fucking Kenichi, man. Put her down. Kenichi gets a lot better with the witch buffs, though. It's only Durin, not the buffs. I guess for the teams that use Emily, that's true. Honestly, chat, maybe Emily should be the top of this tier, not Kazuha. But maybe as much as versatility doesn't matter that much, it still kind of matters. So maybe Kazuha's ahead. I think they're pretty close though. Shenhe. Oh boy. This one's a fraud. Okay. Put her beside Molani. No, Molani's better than she is. Like, in the Skirk team, I consider Molani to be better. And on top of that, you can use Molani in other teams too. It's not great, but like, it's a thing, I guess. I guess it's not that real though. I don't know. Doesn't Shenhe get more valuable than Molani the more you invest into Skirk? How does that work? Do you think Molani gets her value from having high personal damage in the Skirk team? No. It's from giving Skirk TTDS and Cinder City. So vertical investment on Skirk will scale just as well with Molani as it will with Skirk. If anything, it'll scale better. Sure, if you're a fucking Leviathan, C6 Skirk will do more than C6 Molani in the team. Will it? Maybe not, actually. Probably. You said Skirk, sorry. C6 Shenhe will do more than C6 Molani. But I guess she's kind of similar to Molani, right? No, but like if I had both, I'd rather play Molani. I guess sometimes content wants you to have more cryo hits though. So there'll be times where Shenhe's better. Man, I don't know. She can go next to Molani. Fine. Fine. Shenhe above Molani. I think the main reason why I have Molani above Shenhe is because getting the first Shenhe burst feels fucking awful. Not only does Molani not need a burst to do her job in the team, she also has great particle generation to help the rest of the team generate energy more quickly. if you want to send a first rotation with burst rather than without them. Anyways. Nahida. Is Nahida usable anywhere other than Nefer right now? I guess Molani. Kinda. Nilo. Kinda. That's enough for this, I think. I think it's enough for that. I'd put her next to Kazuha. Well, she's really close to Kazuha. Shanyan! Damn. Yeah, Shannon is kind of a fraud. She's a victim of Shavor's being as good as she is. Because, like, yeah, she's good for Varessa teams. But you shouldn't play that Varessa team. The only time when you should play the Varessa team is if you have to play Electro Charge. And it's not going to be, like, having her isn't going to do more for you than having, like, Inefa or something, right? It's so much more fun than Overload. That's a good point. Varessa combos that involve jumps are actually so much more fun. I hard agree with that. But this is not a fun tier list, unfortunately. The question is the Varessa team enough to put Xianyan over Kazuha? I don't know. That's a very subjective thing, right? How much do you value the second best archetype for a meta carry? Especially if the first best archetype isn't reliant on having another 5-star. So it's unlikely that you'll be able to do Xianyan, but not Shavar's. She can make everyone plunge unless you torture people with Nevidat plunge teams. That's true. That's true. Maybe I should take that into account. Yes, Eeks, it is a support tier list. I gave in. I gave in. We haven't gotten to Chiori yet, or Kokomi, so you get to have a good time for the next little bit until we do. Okay, I think I think it is higher, honestly. Like, a very worst case scenario, she can still basically fulfill the same job as Lanyan, right? But she has best case scenarios where she does a lot more. Plus, unlike Lanyan, she gets to stack Farina, right? Yeah, like worst case scenario, it's heal VV. And very often also TGDS. Yeah, I think I'm okay with having her here. Oh. Where does Shailene go? Loki might be C. I don't think so. What support does she provide other than Pyro app? Well, what support does MED provide other than Dendro app? What support does Albedo? Actually, no. Albedo gives damage percent now. I don't know. Like, yeah, when you just only look at the supportive ways she helps the teams and you ignore damage, Shelling is kind of okay. But even then, right? Like, dismissing Shelling's Pyro App as just Pyro App, like, she has the best Pyro App in the game. It's good Pyro App. You know? Better than Durin? Way better. Durin is once every 2 seconds. Shelling is more than once per second. I think Shelling is a sort of character that just in terms of, like, team DPS as a whole, isn't that impressive anymore. But she has so much going for her that makes her often a really useful unit to have for Stygian stuff. Whether it's because bosses allow her to cheat out more damage with the double Pyronado stuff or the self-infusion stuff, or because they require a lot of application or a lot of hits. And it's not like she doesn't have teams that are good. Like, she's still fine with Verissa. Right? She's solid with Verissa. She's alright with Molani, although it's a bit cringe to play. Then isn't Pyro MC just better because it gives damage percent? Pyro MC gives like 1 damage percent. But Pyro MC does a lot less damage than Xiangling does. All field damage means less and less these days. The reason it means less and less is because buffs are bigger and bigger, and the buff from Pyro MC is not big. So that doesn't apply here, you know? Scroll is big. You have Yonson in those teams already. You don't get Scroll from PMC. You get TOM. Xiangling gets TOM too. That's my goal right there. Oh. Rotation length. Rotation length is the main thing that Pyro MC has over Xiangling. But it's not enough to make Pyro MC actually better. It's very similar. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I still think Xiangling does enough to justify this. Personally. I can't remember the last time I actually put Kazuha on my team when it was like a smart thing to do. But I've used Xiangling for multiple Siegen Onslaught in multiple different teams. Alright. Now we move on to the garbage. So what do we have? We have garbage that isn't like completely worthless. So like like Faviaka, TOM Raiden, Kokomi, Zhongli, Yai, Sarah, Rosaria, Chiori, Aoife, Yumaglorp. No, not Yumaglorp. Actually, wait, I forgot about Dahlia. Dahlia goes here too. Baiju, maybe. Kaya. Barbara. Maybe we can think about Toma. Yeah, Kuki in non-Hyperbloom teams. Beto, I guess, yeah. Well, the lack of AoE content makes me not really want to put Beto here, but maybe. I'll think about it. Diona, I guess. Isn't Kachina way better than TOM Raiden? The thing is, you never need off-field Geo. The only character that cares about your Geo application is Navia, and you don't care that much about it. Whereas you do need off-field Electro in some teams. So when you're putting Kachina on your team, you're not putting her on your team because you want an off-field Geo, and she happens to be an off-field Geo that gives you damage percent from Cinder City. You're putting her just because you want Cinder City. That's not doing much, right? When you put TOM Raiden on your team, it's because you want an off-field Electro. And over the other off-field Electros, Raiden has the upside of being longer uptime, shorter cooldowns, having rotations that are easier to work around. I don't think it's better than Inefa now, right? Before Inefa, I think it was like kind of a unique thing. With Inefa, I don't think so anymore. But it's still not awful, right? Although, honestly, I'm getting a little tired. So I think we'll take a break from this. Maybe we'll continue it tomorrow. Please watch this 3-minute Durin meta teaser. What is that? Spoiler warning, JJK Season 2. Have we watched this already?
者への冒涜とな
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, what an amazing screenshot this is. That is such an amazing screenshot. I love it.
それでもお前は何を託された
話は終わったかちょんまげゴリラ
Okay, but what about Carrie Durin, man? Need the next sequel to talk about Carrie Durin. Ooh, okay. I still can't overlook the Petra Raiden. Yeah. Stall? Yeah, we can do the stall. Sure. Wordle. Stay. Fuck you. Stare. Pound. Zilch. What the fuck? Huh? What the fuck? I feel like it's gonna be like something like this. Or like this. There's gotta be 2 U's, right? It's not undo. That's not a word, right? I'm about to write the stupidest shit you've ever seen, but like, what if? Okay. No one saw that. Delete that from your memory. Oh, wait. It could be fugue, right? It is. Okay, bet. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Croat or Bulgarian? Slav? Maybe? No limit. Proof you weren't part of a crime. Alibi. Roll around in the morning. No clue. Purchase price. Slab. Lilac. Vibes. Tilt. Bagel. Cost. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Not a bad mini today. Not a bad mini today. Not a bad mini today. What the fuck? 357. Holy fuck, I'm the goat. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, that was pretty good. Holy pre-played. Gee, I wonder what this could be. That's my goat. That's this, right? Yeah. Fuck. That could have been a perfect, but I don't know this. Do I know this? No. No, I have no clue what this is. What the fuck is this, bro? I have no clue. Yeah, okay, I haven't seen this. GG. Fuck, what's the heck? What? Is it me? No. What's it called again? What's it called again? Fuck. It's like, it's me something, I think. Me-re? It's not, it doesn't have a last name and it's not Chan, that's for sure. Migi. I think it's, oh. I think that's the one. I think that's the one. I think that's the one. And then I think this is from, it's from one of those shows that people say are good, but I never got around to watch it. I think, was this one? This one was made in Abyss, I think. This, I have no clue whatsoever. The art kind of looks like Inuyasha. But like, I guess it could be Inuyasha. At first glance, I thought this was like a fucking cyborg robot part, but I don't think so, actually. I think it's not that. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I don't think it's that. Holy shit. Okay. 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 What the fuck is that? What is this, bro? That's insane. I don't know any of these, by the way. This might be an isekai character. Kind of looks like low quality slop, so it very well could be isekai, but I don't recognize them. Okay, no. Well. Yeah, okay. GG. That's gotta be isekai. What the fuck is Astro doing here, man? Dude, what the fuck? What the hell? Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen this character, but I have no idea what she's from. Shield hero, right? Right, that's the queen, right? Yeah. Okay. Dude. What the fuck is Astro Boy doing in the fucking hard section here, by the way? Like, what do you mean? What are they doing? Like, whatever. It is what it is. Let's try Baki. It's not Baki. Manga, old, decently good at least. Let's try Naruto. Action, not that old, not worse than Naruto, not adventure, not fantasy. Chat, any ideas? Any suggestions? Fairy Tale. That would be adventure or fantasy, no? Like, 100%. Haikyuu. Haikyuu would be higher than an 8. Tokyo Revengers. Is that older than Baki? I don't think so, right? No? Yeah. Try sci-fi. Could be Blue Exorcist. Is that not fantasy? Is that supernatural? Holy fuck. I guess you're the goat. My god. Right. Is this going to the VOD? It's not. Okay. I feel like I've heard this before, but I don't place it. That's FMA? Really? Huh. I have no clue what this is. Dude, it's... Oh, that's the bird face guy. Yeah, that's Shangri-La Frontier, right? Kind of a banger opening. Holy. Yeah, that goes fucking hard. Holy shit. I should watch this, probably. Dude. Is that the music from Elf the movie? No. What the fuck is this, bro? This is awful. I hate it. I'm gonna guess just so we can... Let's make a mug, too. Is that a pottery anime? That's fucking crazy. Well, whatever. Dude, 46.5k is insane. Holy shit. Yeah, if we got that, that would have been 50k. Maybe we could have gotten it. No, we wouldn't have gotten it. There's no pottery in the title. It says mug. I wouldn't have gotten that. Yeah. Going from Shangri-La opening to that is crazy. It is, man. It's so bad in comparison. Alright, chat. I think that's gonna be it for today. I'm gonna post the latest video, which is the banner review. So as usual, if you can find it through YouTube, it helps more with the algorithm. It's been posted. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Here's the link for those of you that are too lazy. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.